Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. I am your host, John Shipley, and I've been your host and beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to move forward through yet another offseason together. You can find us on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI, and you can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. All right, folks, today's episode, we are going to talk about three positions I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars absolutely have to invest some kind of meaningful draft capital in when it comes to next month's NFL draft. Three position groups that I don't think the Jaguars can afford to avoid investing some kind of pick in. They have to, in my opinion, lead the draft with at least one player in these positions, if not multiple in some cases. To me, the one right off the bat has to be edge rusher. I'm not saying, they should take an edge rusher at number 5 because I believe Abdul Carter would be the only edge rusher worth the pick. But I am saying they need to invest, in my opinion, a top 100 pick in an edge rusher. They have Josh Hines-Allen. They have Trayvon Walker. Two very durable guys. Trayvon Walker, I believe, has only missed like 2 games in 3 years. Josh Hines-Allen, of course, has been very durable for the Jaguars. Has played through a lot of injuries during his career, something that I don't think he gets enough credit for. He's a real Iron Man of the defense. He played 16 games last season, and then before that, back-to-back 17 games played. So you have two guys who are proven that they are durable. They can handle the snaps. They can handle the reps and the responsibility, etc. But what I believe the Jaguars need is a third guy, and honestly, even frankly, a fourth guy to help platoon the edge rush. To me, it wasn't an issue. Like, the issue with the Jaguars last year wasn't that they were rotating their defensive linemen. You need to rotate your defensive linemen. You need a deep bench of players who can go in and step in and get after the passer. They had that in 2022, the last really good Jaguars pass rush unit, because they had 4 guys who could legitimately get after the passer. Hines-Allen, Walker, Arden Key, and DeJuan Smoot. Plus, on top of that, they had, Roy Robson-Harris, who came on at the end of the year. They've been missing that. They've been missing the Robin to Trayvon and Josh's Batman. They need to find somebody who can plug in there early on and play snaps. Miles Cole is the 3rd defensive end on the roster, and those are the only defensive ends they have on the roster. And Miles Cole is somebody who's on the roster bubble right now. He's not somebody I think you should presume will be on the 53-man roster next season. He has to earn that. So I think the Jaguars at some point in the draft have to walk away with a number 3 edge rusher. Whether that's the first round, second round, late day 2, etc. I just think at some point they need to invest in the position. All right, the second one, and I feel confident in saying this one because of the report from ESPN's Adam Schefter that the Jaguars checked in and inquired about Stephon Diggs during his lead up to signing with the New England Patriots, is wide receiver. If the Jaguars played a game today, the starting 3 wide receivers would be obviously Brian Thomas Jr., obviously De'Ami Brown, and as long as he's healthy, Gabe Davis. Now, that's a real question. I personally expect Davis to miss a good chunk of the offseason program. He had a legitimately serious knee injury last year. We'll see how he bounces back this year. You have to hope that he's ready week 1. But even if he is, look at the wide receiver depth behind them. You have Parker Washington, Joshua Cephas, Austin Trammell. They need to add to this wide receiver room because they have 4 guys who were in the room last year who are no longer there. Christian Kirk, Devin Duvernay, obviously Josh Reynolds, Tim Jones, who signed with the Minnesota Vikings. They only added De'Ami Brown. So they need to add several new pieces to this wide receiver room. Doesn't necessarily have to be a starter if they're confident in Davis bouncing back from injury, but very easily could see them taking a pass catcher early on day 2 because they simply just need to add more talent, more bodies to that room. That has to be a position that they cannot ignore during the draft. This is a as always, a good receiver class. It's kind of hard to find a bad receiver class. It's not like alphas like there were in the last receiver class. I don't expect any receiver from this class to be as good as the 4 best receivers from last year's class. Maybe, though, you can find, a player who can still step in and be a very serviceable number 2 to develop either for the future or to play right away. They need to find somebody who can take some snaps. Lastly, I debated cornerback here because I still think even with Jarian Jones having the potential to play outside, that they need to add more bodies, more talent, more depth to the cornerback position. But I'm going to go with running back. Liam Cohen and the Jaguars want to bring the running game back to Jacksonville. They want to make the running game a focus. They want to take that pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. And Cohen showed last year that he can deploy 3 running backs at once. So you need depth at the position, especially with the injuries that happened there. It's a really deep running back class. He proved last year, he found a stud running back on day 3. You can find a running back on day 3 who can perfectly step in as a number 3 back and potentially develop into even more in this class. Right now, they just have Keelan Robinson as their 3rd running back, and he didn't do anything last year, obviously, due to injuries, to really prove to this staff that should be his spot moving forward. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. We'll be back next time.